Hi everyone, welcome back. It is Wednesday, May 3rd, 2017. I am Gerald, if you don't remember. Hard to forget, right? Ginger Gerald Stitcher here, ginger.gerald.stitcher on Instagram. And I am here for another quick update. I wanted to thank everyone for the wonderful vote of support and confidence you have in all of your fellow male stitchers. From the last episode, I had such a big pouring of support in comments and private messages about that. So I just wanted to really quick say one more thing and then we are going to be done with that. So I was wrong in my numbers that I provided in the last episode, so I wanted to make a correction there. Total views since including all of the views up until this point, I've had 4,490, and of that 8.8% have been males. So obviously there's, if you take exactly 8.8%, that's 360 males watching my videos. Now, I'm just, one person in the big world of FlossTube. But to think about that, even though a lot of those could be the same males watching the same or each video, but that is a lot of male stitchers. So I want to thank all of you who are supportive of, being inclusive with all of our verbiage when we are talking on our channels. And for those that I did have a few comments that were negative or condescending. And for those people, I have nothing to say about that because those comments were coming from a point of illogical and uneducated positions. And I love debate, and I love whenever I can have a healthy debate with someone who I disagree with. But whenever, if you're going to debate or have comments, be educated in what you're going to say and know and have, what am I trying to say? I can't even think what I'm going to say now. Your side of the debate needs to come with an educated point of view and not just ranting and raving because of what the other person said. Enough said. Anyways, so I have many questions from on YouTube in the comments, as well as I've had a few on Instagram that I wanted to go over. And through the questions, I'll be showing you my projects. So it's going to be kind of just like a this for that type of episode. So Kevin Tober asked what the process of my stitching was for my Heaven and Earth design, Henry VIII. So I have my Henry VIII. I actually just pulled it back out after, I keep shaking the table today. I pulled it back out after working or putting it away for a while to work on the other projects. I'm now starting page 9. So here he is to this point. So since the last episode, I have completed page 8. I worked on this section here, which took an astronomical amount of time. This one band, his necklace band here, or decorative gemstone area, that took, I had a goal one day. I think it was a Saturday or a Sunday to work on that. And that part, I wanted to have that entire section done in one day because I knew it was going to take a while because it was confetti. So, and this all ties back to the question, but that section took me 9 hours. I did complete it in that day, but it did take quite a long time. So total, this section took me a little over, this one page took me a little over a week to do. Obviously, there's huge sections of black and brown, which is the, I'm guessing the velvet of his top coat or vest or whatever this is, whatever you would call this. So to get back to Kevin's question about how, and I did respond back to him in the comments, but how I typically work on a page of my HAID is that I go, because, and this is what I've done so far. Of course, everything is subject to change as I feel fit to do so. But a lot of the background, it was 4 or 5 colors. And so I would go either 2 or 3 columns wide, and I would work on one color all the way down, or a good section of the way down the page, just depending on how I feel. And then I would go back in and fill in the other colors. So I am a cross-country stitcher. I really have, I tried the parking real quick on one of my projects, and it just didn't, the process just didn't click in my brain, to the point where it was having the threads hang was confusing, and they get in the way. It was irritating for me. So I am a cross-country stitcher. So you can see here on the page that I'm working on, I started with actually a few of the black stitches were from whenever I was working over on page 8. But so I'm starting with the brown. So I'm working all of this brown section. I think it goes down into here because it's the beginning of Henry's beard. Then I'm going to go back in and work on all the black in this area, 3 to 5 sections wide. Then I'm going to fill in the next color and so forth until those few columns are done. Or if it doesn't flow into columns, because now I'm getting down into the sections where where columns don't necessarily work for me. So it will be like sections of the pattern. So in this case, it will be the beard. When I get to his face, I'm going to work on all the face. So I'll do each color cross country the whole way through his face, and then I'll go back and work on the next page color. That's how I did the yellow section of his sleeve poof here. So I hope that is clear enough to get my point across. Another question I had on Instagram was from, I believe this is Carissa Stitches, and of course I responded to her on Instagram as well, but she was asking how I work with confetti, and with the confetti, how I deal with the back. So I am actually going to show you the back of my project. I am not a person who cares about what the back looks like. I am a cross-country stitcher. I carry my thread. I look at it as no one's going to see the back after it's framed. And so as long as the threads are secure, I do not care how my back looks. So here is, now of course you're not going to be able to see all the back because I have my Lowry frame holding the vise here, but here is the back of my HAID. Pretty messy, right? So as you can see, especially in the hat, the white sections and the cream sections, I carried because then those colors corresponded to the jewel tones and the jewels and the pearls of the decorative part of his hat, and also down here into the number, the lettering that went across the background. That's how I do it. Am I right? I don't think there is any right or wrong way. It's however you feel like doing it. I was never trained in the fact that your back mattered. Honestly, until FlossTube, I never heard of that concept because everyone I know carries their stitches or carries their floss across the page to where it needs to go. So those are the questions about my heaven and earth design. Next, I had another similar soapbox-esque mini soapbox from the last episode, was about keeping my floss tube and my stitching separate on Facebook from the rest of my friends and family that I have. I think that the point of the soapbox last time was that I appreciated all the people that had friend requested me on Facebook, but I'm not going to necessarily accept you as friends just because I keep my stitching separate from the rest of my life. And that is not because of, and I really don't have to, because I did have a couple comments saying that, you know, I should really consider coming out of the stitching closet to the rest of my friends and family, and this has nothing to do with the fact that, you know, I'm not proud of my stitching. I am proud of my stitching. I do talk about my stitching to the friends who have an appreciation for it, but I'm not going to. It's just and Liz Palmer agreed with me in the comments. And why subject yourself out there to people who don't understand the purpose of why I do this? You know, I have my Instagram for my stitching. I have my Facebook for my personal life. I do follow some groups on Facebook for stitching. I'm in Stitch Mania, the Heaven and Earth Designs group, as well as Cross Stitch Finish Line. However, I don't post a lot on there. I'm honestly not even on Facebook a lot because that's just not. I used to be. I'll occasionally share funny videos or videos that I find interesting about architecture or the world or nature or animals. But it's not somewhere that I'm going to post my stitching a lot because most of the people I know in my life either know nothing at all about cross stitch or just don't really care. So I am going to keep my Facebook separate. That's how I want to do it, and there's nothing wrong with that. And lastly, last night I was watching Farm Girl. Hi, Michele, on her Stitch Mania plans, and she was talking about I convinced her to purchase flosses from Color and Cotton. And she said that I was right. And Michele, I want to say I'm always right. No, honestly, I was just, I had to shout out to Michele because if you haven't watched Michele, Farm Girl, her channel on Instagram and YouTube is Farm Girl because she owns a farm. You have to go watch her and see what she's up to over there in Minnesota. And I say that because her channel is one of my absolute favorites on FlossTube just because she shows things. She shows her animals, her goats and her dogs and her rabbits. I had to think. I knew there was another animal there. And I love that because it reminds me of whenever I grew up on a farm and we raised registered Guernsey cows, which are a dairy breed, and we used to show them in the fairs just like Michele does. So I definitely can relate to that. Of course, now I live in the city outside of Philadelphia in the suburbs, so I don't have that around me, but it's always nice to watch and see the different animals. And personally, Michele, I am a fan of the La Manchas. I love the goats with those are the ones that have like little stubs for ears. But growing up, my dad raised Alpines. And when I was a wee little kid in the house, he would always have the kids were born off the ones that were born in the middle of winter. Because he didn't want them to freeze to death, he would bring them into the house and put them in a refrigerator box, you know, cut off refrigerator box in front of the stove so that they would survive the night. So I have fond memories of our goats and my cows from raising them. So anyways, she had brought up about color and cotton floss. So my one haul that I got this month, or since the last episode was the flosses that I purchased from Color and Cotton. So these are the ones, and Andrea of I Heart Cross Stitch, these are what I got with your $20 gift card that I won from your giveaway. So we have grapefruit. Yeah. Let me see. That's a little bit better. My lighting is not as good as normal because I'm recording here at 6:40 at night, so the sun's starting to go down, and I'm getting a lot of low sun in the sky. So that is grapefruit. Typically, this is a much brighter color than I go for. I am an earthy tones person, but you know, have to build the collection, right? Low flame, a nice yellow variegated with some oranges. Buttercup. Sea glass. Here you can see the names are on the back. A nice light blue. There we go. That might be a little bit better. Big blue. Really nice blue tone. Again, another blue. Dark denim. I really like this one. I like those darks with that lighter blue variation. Dark violet. Marciano. Nice cherry color there. Liberty, and I believe whenever this color was created, Angela said that this was a goof. Angela, if I'm wrong, please correct me. But this was one of those kind of fluke accident designs, and I commented on her Instagram picture, Color and Cotton on Instagram as well, that it was one of, I just love that color variation. So that's Liberty. Obviously it's reds, whites, and blues. We have Dark Dune. And Tombstone. Nice earthy gray stone color. So those are what I got with the giveaway gift certificate that I got from Angela, or from, oh, I just said her name too. But anyways, you can rewind if you want to remember her name. I Heart Cross Stitch. Andrea, there it is, Andrea. I knew it would come back to me. So again, if you haven't watched her yet, which I know many of you have or are watching her, Farm Girl on FlossTube. Angela is also on FlossTube, Color and Cotton. So make sure you go check her out as well. I will, if I remember, I will try to link all of them below so you can find them for yourself. So anyways, along with that, a lot of those, I was waiting for those flosses to come in because I am going to be in my Etsy store. And again, thank you all for who have made purchases and who have favorited my current projects. I only have 2 in there right now, the cross and crown, which I showed in the last video, as well as the Phoenix, the Rising Phoenix. Oh my gosh, I can't think today. It's been a long day. But I am currently working on some. Again, they are going to be natural earth monuments. Let's put it that way. So I'm working on some natural wonders type things in progress. Of course, right now I've been stressed at work because it is a very busy time for teachers, as you all know. Not to mention that it's coming up to the end of the school year and I'm in charge of graduation and the grad trip because I work with 19 to 21-year-olds. So, and many of my students are graduating, so I'm in charge of those for our school. And so whenever I come home, I feel like just stitching instead of working on thought-provoking, crafty ideas. But I always have thoughts churning, and I already have more and more plans for other patterns. So if you are watching, and I know I've had many comments about they're looking forward to what I'm doing with Angela's flosses, as well as my earth natural project or plans, so keep a lookout. I'm hoping to have them out in the next few weeks. So what I know most of you are all here for, let's finish showing you my whips. So first I have one finish, and again I started to stitch the planets for myself this time. This is Mercury. This took me about 4 hours on Saturday afternoon. Again, this is one of the smallest planets, so it didn't take much time at all. I think there's maybe 8 shades of gray in there. And Joe, you know what that means. I started the planet, so you know your favorite word's going to be coming up in the next few episodes. Of course, I'm not in any hurry to stitch all 9 of these. I'm just doing them just to fill in between the different projects I work on. So Mercury, very happy with this. This is now on 27 count Linda even weave by Zweigart. And I ordered this whenever I ordered my Lowry stand from so-and-so. So again, this is 27 count. So it ends up 2/2 on 27 count Linda black even weave by Zweigart. Okay. Then we go to my whips. So of course I have another what I'm calling page finish on my Crowns of the Kingdom, and I'm not going to show you the pattern because you've all seen it 1,000 times on my videos, and if you haven't seen it, you can either look it up or go back to one of my episodes. But here is Crowns of the Kingdom so far. I'm getting a little, there we go. So I have worked down here more in this corner, and I did all of these crowns this time, and I'm calling this a page finish, even though you see there's a big gap right here in this part of the page, but that is actually a larger motif that goes, half of it's on the next page, so I'm going to do that all again. I was just kind of getting burned out, so I put this one away, but I'm calling this a page finish because this crown actually goes, the majority of it is in the page lower, so therefore, I say this evens this out, and it's a page finish. Woohoo! So again, Crowns of the Kingdom, and I love this crown. And I also like, even though this is just a little rectangle, it's a pretty neat black and gold crown, or tiara, or whatever they're called. I'm not sure what these little small ones are called. Anyways, that is my Crowns of the Kingdom. And the last one for you is my Quilts Stitcherovia Quote Sal. And I've gotten a lot of questions about this one regarding the flosses I'm using, because I'm not using the called for DMC. I'm actually using the packs from dinky dies that you can buy on Etsy. I guess they're like the ends of the skeins or the ends of the rolls, whatever you want to call it, of what's left over after they create their regular skeins. So it's dinky dies and silks for you, which I ordered on Etsy as well. And at one point, and I don't know if they still do or not, they also had similar packages where you don't know what colors you're getting, they just send it to you. So I am using this. So of course I apologize, but I do not have, actually I'm not sorry, but I don't have the names or the numbers of the flosses I've used. Now I have used a few DMC and I have used some color and cotton in this. So here is my quotes to live by so far. And as you can see, I've completed the entire border as well as the bottom quote in the center. So I am now, because the May quote has just been released, I am now 2 months behind, or 1 month and a few days. But as you can see here up close, let's get a little closer here. What I decided to use was one variegated floss for this inside border. I'm sorry, let me get the. And so it's purples and dark blues and light blues. And the pattern calls for 2 different shades of DMC, and it's 2 stitches, 2 stitches, 2 stitches, 2 stitches. But I figured it was a similar look if I just used a variegated floss. So there you can see I used the variegated blue and purple floss. It's not turning out very well. It's hard to see. Let me see here. Let me fold it up and maybe you could see it better. There we go. That's a little bit better. And then to show you the last, this would have been the March quote, which is by Coco Chanel. And it says, in order to be irreplaceable, one must always be different. And so I wanted to tie the greens and the purples and the oranges that I used in the top part down at the bottom. And I think this so far is my favorite quote. Very, very pleased with that one. So the next 2 quotes are out there, the ones on the left and right of the middle quote. And I have had some reservations about those. I was kind of concerned about it because they weren't necessarily going to, the way they're designed wasn't going to necessarily match, because they were completely filled in the background with like a light pink color, which was the original color of the top part, one of the top parts here. And I wasn't thrilled with that because all 3 of these had the background blank, whereas then these 2 were going to have the backgrounds filled in. So what I wanted to do was, I was planning on just doing those 2 again in my own color palette, but without filling in the background. And I was hesitant because I was like, well, I don't know what the other 4 quotes are going to be like. But then I saw, last night I was watching Dragon Stitches, and she was doing the same exact thing, and I really, really liked the way it looked. So thank you, Dragon Stitches. I am going to be following suit and going with my original plan of doing those 2 and not filling in the background. So, and I was talking to Garrett, and he was saying about how he really liked my color choices, but I was saying I had some reservations because I was worried that the colors it was going to be too busy. and that was before this one was done. I know it's hard to see everything. So, but then I really think because I used a lot of the same colors that were in this top part up here, it really pulled together nicely, and I'm very pleased with it. And again, I also backstitched in, and it's not showing up very well on the video, but from a distance and in the pictures, I backstitched the yourself, and it helped pull out the green of that stitching. So while I'm not horribly thrilled with this, I find from a distance it looks okay, and it's good enough. So I'm not going to pull that out. So that is my quotes to live by. So like I said earlier, I am working on, I just started pulling Henry out again. I'm going to work on him until I get tired of it. And then I will move on to something else. I have some other projects that I want to get going here. Of course, I'm not participating in Mania because my work is mania enough, especially at this time of year, is manic enough. And if I were to, that's just, I watch all the videos and I love watching them, but it actually makes me really anxious watching all of you start all of these new projects. Whereas I feel like I need to, even though I am a process stitcher, because obviously I work on a lot of large projects, I like to see progress on them. And it amazes me how different the different people in our community are. And I think that's wonderful, because for me, or let's say, in a lot of you who make videos, I see you and you have 4 and 5 and 10 heaven and earth designs started, and that just boggles my mind to the point of like, I think that would personally drive me crazy, only getting in a couple rows or a half a page on each one and not seeing it again for months or even a year, whereas one heaven and earth design is enough for me, or one extra large project. And so even though I have another one in my stash that I really want to work on, and I really want to start, but I'm forcing myself to wait until Henry is done, because if I had 2 going at the same time and not getting a lot of progress, that would really drive me bonkers. So I'm going to continue working on my 3 going whips, which are Henry VIII, my crowns of the kingdom, and my quotes. And you know what? I never even told you what I'm doing. The quotes is on 32 count white even weaves, Zweigart even weave. The crowns is on 36 count linen from Hand Dyed by Stephanie in the color Neverland Sea. And Henry is on a 28 count white even weave by Zweigart. So that is what I'm working on. So I will be back to you guys in a few weeks. You all have a wonderful day. Happy stitching and enjoy your mania. Bye.